welcome to Laura's Rambles. I'm your host, Laura. Before we jump into today's episode, I just wanted to give you an update on how my Halloween went. On the last podcast episode, Halloween Rambling, I talked about dressing up my cats for Halloween. So just an update on that in case you were wondering what the cats went as for this year, and in case you missed it on my Instagram when I posted it. Eowyn, who is a part Maine Coon, she had a little pirate hat on. It was black with gold trim, and there was also a cat face and then crossbones, but they were actually fish bones. It was very cute. And then Shadowfax, who's a tuxedo, she went as a dinosaur. So her hat was green, and then it had this longer part in the back that went along her spine. It has those spikes like a stegosaurus has. So she was also looking pretty cool, but neither of them loved it, which is part of the tradition. I get to embarrass them, and they put up with me for about 2 minutes. We also did some pumpkin carving this year. I carved my pumpkin to look like Jack Skellington's face, and we had trick-or-treaters, so it was a good Halloween. Now let's jump into today's topic, the travel bucket list. I love lists. They keep me sane and organized. It's not just grocery lists that I make, though. I have to-do lists for my personal life. I also have lists of things, different craft projects that I want to do, different craft projects that I started and might not have finished. I have lists for different goals I want to accomplish next year. I also have travel bucket lists. And this is a giant list that's ever evolving. And it's different countries that I want to travel to. I'm going through a Scandinavia phase right now, and I really want to go to Sweden and Norway. I also want to see all 7 wonders of the New World and also the pyramids. Fun fact, that is the only wonder of the Old World that you can still see today. I also want to set foot on every continent in the world. I'm not actually sure you can set foot on Antarctica, but I know you can take cruises there, and that is on my bucket list as well. So there's all these different places that I want to go to and all of these different things that I want to experience. I would love to celebrate Day of the Dead in Mexico City, and then also see the monarch butterfly migration that happens outside of Mexico City. There's this huge monarch butterfly sanctuary where millions of these butterflies flock to. I'm not sure flock is the right word, but they just come here and they hang out in the trees, and there's just so many in these trees, and it's very cool. And that's another thing that's on my list. One of the big things that is on my list is going to Ireland. I'm part Irish, and my brother and I were going to take my dad to Ireland for his 70th birthday. But unfortunately, when we were going to go, that was 2020. We all know what happened in 2020 and why my family didn't get to Ireland that year. So that's still something that's on my bucket list. That's probably at the top of my bucket list. We had everything mapped out. We had an itinerary. We had all of the Airbnbs that we were going to stay at. We just had to book them. So because that was derailed, that is the number one thing on my bucket list right now. Hopefully next year. Some of the benefits of a bucket list for me, it keeps me dreaming. It keeps me exploring and seeing what else I can put on my list. I also get excited by watching different movies and TV shows and reading books and wanting to visit some of the places that these characters have been to. For example, some people go to Hawaii and they go on a Lost tour, or they go on a tour for Jurassic Park, or New York for a plethora of reasons. So bucket lists get you dreaming. They get you motivated and excited to go explore the world around you. And there's also this sense of accomplishment that comes with crossing all of these different places off of your list. When I started making a bucket list, I only thought of it in a positive light. And now that I've had a bucket list for pretty much as long as I can remember, I've started to question whether having a bucket list is always positive. And it's because of social media that I've started to question this. We're just constantly inundated with more and more information. And I feel like there's so many different posts that you see that's like, explore these hidden gems of Italy, or explore these hidden gems for the best Instagram photo opportunities. And it's just all of these things that you're coming across and you're thinking, oh, wow, that's really cool. I'm going to add that to my list. But now your list is getting to be like hundreds of line items long. And now it's starting to feel daunting. And it's starting to feel like I will never accomplish all of this. And it's almost like a sense of burnout for a travel bucket list. You're just working so hard to accomplish all of this, and you don't know if you ever will, especially since you can only go to so many places a year. Traveling is expensive, it can be, and you're constantly adding more and more to your list. So it's almost like one step forward, two steps back. And so I start to question whether or not having that travel bucket list is a good thing if it's starting to give you anxiety and stress. You're starting to feel depressed and depleted from trying so hard to accomplish all of these goals and cross off all of these things from your list. And now traveling and having all of these experiences is starting to become more of an obligation rather than pleasure. So for me, because my bucket list has gotten unwieldy, and I'm one of those people who, if I have something on my list, I can't cross it off until I've actually completed it. I almost have this sense of guilt that I'm crossing something off, or I'm not even crossing it off the list. I'm just removing it from the list, and I feel guilty because I haven't done it yet. And lately I've started to think like, this is my list. It's okay to take something off the list that I haven't done, because something that was important to me 12 years ago when I added it to the list isn't important to me anymore. It's having that self-compassion and giving yourself permission to modify your list. So as you're taking these things off of your list because they're not as important to you anymore, it's also self-reflecting and prioritizing what you find important now and what you actually want to accomplish. So if you start to feel overwhelmed by your bucket list, like I sometimes do, especially after going down a social media rabbit hole and adding all of these new things to my bucket list, I always have to remember of self-compassion and self-reflection. Self-compassion to take things off my list that aren't important to me anymore, and then also self-reflection for prioritizing what I actually do want to do and what is important to me now. So allowing your bucket list to grow and evolve. Overall, though, I'm still going to keep a bucket list, and I hope you do too. It's still a list that keeps you dreaming and it keeps you excited to explore the world. And also it allows you to write down all of these places and experiences that you want to have. But there's also that sense of accomplishment as you're crossing things off of this tangible list that you've created. You can see all of the progress that you're making. And just as a last reminder, remember, it's okay to make changes to your bucket list. It's okay to scribble out different places that you don't want to go to anymore. That's okay. You want to let your bucket list evolve as you evolve and to reflect what your priorities are today. Thank you for joining me on Laura's Rambles. I'll catch you at the next episode.